The evening had begun like any other, quiet, uneventful, marked by the sound of rain tapping softly against the window. I had spent hours lost in my own thoughts, restless and unable to settle into the ordinary rhythm of the night. But somewhere deep inside me, I knew this wasn't an ordinary evening. Something about the air felt charged, alive, as though a shift was waiting to happen. He was sitting across from me, his eyes steady but searching, carrying that silent question he had never dared to voice. It wasn't the first time I had caught him looking at me that way, with that mix of curiosity and longing he always tried to disguise beneath casual smiles. And it wasn't the first time I had pretended not to notice. But tonight, for reasons I couldn't quite name, I no longer wanted to hide. The silence between us grew heavier, like a curtain drawn across a stage before the final act. My hands fidgeted with the edge of my sleeve, my breath unsteady, as his gaze pressed gently against the fragile walls I had built around myself. I could feel my heart racing, my pulse echoing in my ears, urging me to step past the hesitation that had held me back for so long. Finally, I whispered, "You've been waiting, haven't you?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned forward slightly, his lips parting as though he were afraid of saying the wrong thing. His eyes told me everything before his voice did, eyes filled with patience, longing, and a quiet kind of hope. "Yes," he said at last, his voice low but steady. "But only if you're ready." That simple response unraveled something inside me. For weeks, months even, I had been caught between the safety of silence and the risk of honesty. My life had always been carefully ordered, but his presence had shifted everything, stirring emotions I had tried to suppress. Tonight, however, the weight of hiding had grown too heavy to carry. I rose slowly from my seat, my steps tentative as I crossed the room. The space between us shrank until I could feel the warmth radiating from his body, until I could see the slight tremor in his hands resting on his knees. My voice trembled, but I didn't look away. "You want to know the truth," I breathed, "and I don't want to hold back anymore." His breath caught, his shoulders tensing as though he were bracing himself for what might come. I reached for his hand, sliding my fingers over his, and the simple contact ignited a rush of energy that left me dizzy. For so long I had hidden the way my heart reacted to his presence, but now that I had touched him, I couldn't imagine pulling away. "I've tried to deny it," I admitted softly, my chest rising and falling too quickly. "I've tried to keep you at a distance because I thought it was safer, easier. But the truth is, you've been inside my thoughts every single day. And no matter how hard I try, I can't push you away." His lips parted as though to speak, but no words came out. Instead, his hand tightened around mine, grounding me, encouraging me to keep going. I could see in his eyes that he had longed to hear this, that my confession was more than he had dared to hope for. The room seemed to fade around us. The rain, the dim glow of the lamp, even the restless shadows on the wall, all of it disappeared into nothing. There was only the intensity of this moment, the raw honesty that filled the air between us. When he finally spoke, his voice was unsteady, almost breaking. "Do you know how long I've wanted to hear that? How long I've been waiting for you to let me in?" Tears pricked at my eyes, not from sadness but from the release of years of restraint. "I know," I whispered, "and I'm sorry for keeping it locked away. But tonight, I can't anymore. Tonight, I want you to see all of me without fear, without walls." And then, before doubt could creep back in, I closed the distance and leaned into him. The warmth of his breath mingled with mine, his closeness wrapping around me like a promise. The first touch of his lips was hesitant, almost reverent, as though he were afraid I might change my mind. But I pressed closer, showing him with every heartbeat that I was certain now. The kiss deepened, not rushed but full of everything we had both been holding back. Each movement carried the weight of unspoken feelings, every sigh and every trembling touch a confession in itself. It wasn't just passion. It was the unveiling of something fragile and real, something that had been waiting too long in the shadows. When we finally pulled away, breathless, our foreheads resting together, I felt lighter than I had in years. My heart no longer carried the burden of silence. "I don't want to go back to pretending," I said softly. His hand cupped my cheek, his thumb brushing away the trace of a tear. "You never have to," he promised. "Not with me." The night stretched on, filled with laughter, confessions, and quiet moments that felt as though time itself had slowed just for us. We talked about dreams, fears, the little details we had never dared to share before. Every word brought us closer, weaving a bond that felt unbreakable. As the rain subsided and dawn began to touch the edges of the sky, I realized just how profoundly everything had changed. It wasn't the kind of change marked by fireworks or grand declarations, but the quiet, powerful shift of two souls finally aligning. For the first time I felt truly seen, truly known. And in that revelation, I knew I had given him the truth he had longed for all along. When I revealed everything, I hadn't held back, and I never would again. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, painting the room in soft golden hues. I stirred awake, feeling the warmth of his arms still wrapped protectively around me. For a moment, I simply lay there, listening to the rhythm of his breathing, realizing how much had changed in just one night. I turned slightly to look at him, his face calm in sleep, and a quiet smile tugged at my lips. All the fear of revealing myself, of holding back, felt so distant now. I had shown him my truth, every vulnerable part of me, and instead of pushing me away, he had embraced it. He had embraced me. He stirred then, opening his eyes slowly, a sleepy smile forming as his gaze met mine. No words were needed. His look alone told me everything. I was safe, I was wanted, and whatever came next, we would face it together. As I nestled closer against him, I realized that sometimes the scariest thing, revealing your heart, could lead to the most beautiful beginning.